What's going on YouTube? Today we are going to start another Rembrandt. This one is going to be a different style. This is going to be more of kind of like an epic format. This is a large one. We're going to work on cotton this time because it's a little expensive to do a big one like this with linen. We are going to be using water mixable oil paints to do this, and the reason I'm gonna use water mixable oil paints is number one, just to change things up, and number two, because of the method that I'm going to be working in. So as you see there, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put a light wash. So I'm gonna start this out a la prima, meaning wet on wet. The audio and visuals are different, so you can actually see me stand all the way back. I want you to actually see how I approach the canvas. I want you to know that this is a very active process, not a very, like sitting and just moving my fingers around and pushing paint. No, this is actually very active. So what I'm doing is I'm using a little bit of Ultramarine Blue and Raw Umber. Let's see. Hey D Ospina, hello there. Hey Ed's Art. Everything is going good, going good. Hey Stephanie Thompson and Jonas, welcome. So you see the chat down there. This is a marble palette. It is a piece of marble, I think. I don't know. It's some kind of stone that I found lying around, and I decided I would use it as a palette because I've never done that before. And I decided, why not? It is about, I don't know, I think it's about 16 by 20 inches. This is not a secondary camera, actually. I'm kind of happy that I figured this out. This is a reflection. This is a mirror that's right here. Haha, I bet I spooked you out. You were like, what? Is that really a mirror? Yep, if you look at the edge right there, it's just barely overlapping the canvas. I can't afford to have two high quality cameras that, just can't. I can't afford it. So what I did was I put a mirror right next to me there so you can see where my hand is underneath. That is where my palette is. Pretty neat. I honestly am really happy that I figured that out. But anyway, the technique. What am I doing here? Hey, Daniel Holt. The technique is going to be wet on wet. I wanted to do this on camera, prepare it on camera, so you can see the approach. If you're working with traditional oil paints, you can use the same exact method. But here's the thing though. If you're going to work in this method, with traditional oil paints, you want a lot of ventilation. A lot of ventilation, because, let me tell you, there is solvent going all over the place. You see it dripping there. It is a dripping. That's how much solvent I'm using. So if you use this much solvent, if you have a big thing like this of solvent around your environment and you're just like, let me breathe this in. It smells great, doesn't it? No, that is not safe. Not safe at all to do. I've done that many times. I'm still here. I'm still alive, relatively. But I don't recommend it. Oil painting, the traditional style, a la prima style, should be done with the least amount of solvent possible. So I don't really recommend you approach a canvas with this much solvent all over the place. Instead, use less solvent and work more directly with your paint. However, water mixable oil paint is going to be much different. Hey Luis, oh thank you. I'm glad you like the idea about the mirror. And I'm gonna do my best to work a little bit faster. I should have brought out a bigger brush. I did one video years ago that people really hate, and that was about toning a canvas and how fun it is to tone a canvas, which is essentially this. Everybody's like, get yourself a bigger brush, you fool. And yeah, I like to work with this brush. I know that it's a smarter thing to use a bigger brush, but here's the thing. I want to be able to work very free, very loose. I mean, I don't want to throw paint everywhere because I've got some paintings here that I don't want to get water mixable oil paint on. So now we're gonna start to draw onto this tone, and I'll fill out the rest of the canvas as I go. Question from Jonas: what's the difference between a cast shadow and the shadow? So there's two types of shadows. So this right here that I'm kind of guesstimating is going to be a form shadow on the side of the model's head. That is a form shadow. Around it, a shadow that's casted, like the shadow that's casted right there. This is a cast shadow. You've got cast shadows and you got form shadows. And those are pretty much the two types of shadows that you're going to deal with. So this canvas is a cheap cotton canvas that is held together once again with magnets because the back side of it is just canvas itself. That's why it's really loose. So it's on top. It's on a piece of some kind of metal, whatever it is. It supports the canvas. So I'm gonna roll with it if it supports the canvas. Now, because this is a black mixing surface, you're not gonna see the darks that well, but you will see the lights phenomenally well. So when we get into the lights, you will see a lot. So I'm drawing with big shapes, straight lines and angles. I'm working through my arm. I'm very careful about standing back and not being too close to the image. Because this is a larger image, this is a larger painting, I've got a lot. Now I know you can't see the bottom of that. I've got a lot more. There you go. I've got a lot more room to maneuver around, and I like for the process to be very active, to be able to move around and do things like this. This is already an abstract painting that I would enjoy hanging up on my wall or something like that. There we go. That's a better view for you. So I'm blocking in the surrounding outside shapes, and you've got the Rembrandt reference up there. It's not a large reference because I don't want you to think that I'm copying it. I'm not doing site size this time. Hey Libertas, I'm not doing site size this time. I'm doing comparative measurement, and this is exactly how I would approach painting a model from life. So now there are height to width considerations and major proportions, and I think I need some stronger magnets for this, but I do have a plan B. I do have some clamps that I can use if I need to. But in the beginning, this is going to be the most aggressive that I'll move the paint around. This is much more fun for, I guess, most people to work this way than the careful measuring everything out and then you know, that kind of thing. That's how we did the last one. That was more careful measurement. Now we're going to look at some more considerations of height to width ratios here. Hey Volker. So the arm, I might fit a little bit further out there, but I think I've got enough of the shapes. I know roughly where the arms are going to fit, roughly where the head is going to fit. And now I can start to go and with very thin paint. We're still working with the darks. I'm going in with straight black, and I'm adding a thin application of paint to the background. And with this method, right away, it's going to create the effect of an image in space. Water mixable oil paint thins very similar to traditional oil paint in the sense that it doesn't fly all over the place if you add a small amount of your solvent. In this case, it's just ordinary water. there's also another reason for this, another reason for me using the water mixable right now, and that is economy. Times are tough, right? So not having to use a solvent, not having to use up all of my Gamsol in this beginning is actually better for me than using up all my Gamsol, because the thing costs like $20. Like, what? This thing right here costs $20. I don't want to use all of that up. So instead, water is cheaper, easier to clean up. Hey, legendary noob. So I'd rather use it for this type of thing, and for landscape as well. I want to do some landscapes. Also, we're going to use this for my students that are taking classes in person with me in Maryland. They voted last week. They voted to do a landscape for the next class, so we're gonna do a landscape. So you'll see me do a landscape exactly like this on Sunday when I create that bonus supplementary video. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna switch brushes and we're gonna start to make some light. So I'm going to use titanium white, angular. We're gonna use titanium white. See how bright that is? What happened there? Looks like my mirror is falling down. Nobody pointed that out yet. It's on a French easel, the mirror. I don't have a camera crew, so I don't have anyone to help me with this. So if you angle a French easel too much, let's see, I think, yeah, you can still see it. So if you angle a French easel too much, it's gonna cause some problems with it. They're not meant to be angled very much. So now we have, hey Mark, we've got cadmium orange substitute, which is a permanent orange. And let's see what just orange and white will do if we add it here very thickly. It's going to look like a big scary mess in the beginning, and then we're going to add more specificity to it. Now I'm carefully walking around, contour of the face. Some of you are thinking like, that's not looking at all like a human. What in the world is that? Let's see. Legendary Noob, could you paint on water mixable like acrylics with regular oil paint when it's completely dry, or is that a bad idea? Yes, you can. You can use water mixable with traditional. So, for example, I think your question is like if you prepare a surface with acrylic, can you paint over it with water mixable? Yeah, you can. The only thing you want to watch out for is switching from anything water-based, or switching from anything oil to water. And by the way, it's not water. It's not water-based. I hear that word a lot. It's not based on water. It is actually oil paint that's modified to thin with water. The linseed oil itself is modified. Okay, so now I've got a relative proportion for the head. Looking at simple shapes, notice where I'm keeping myself. And it was just cadmium orange, as you see there. It was just cadmium orange and white. Gotta make sure that the mirror doesn't fall down on me. Okay, so now we're gonna throw down a shape. And remember, these are just shapes of color. I'm throwing down a shape for this hand. This is gonna be very brutal on my brushes, so I'm doing the best that I can to not scrub the paint as much. Yep, no problem, legendary noob. If you want to be the safest you possibly can with your layering, if you're going to use water mixable, just stick with water mixable. If you're going to use traditional oil paint, then just stick with traditional oil paint per painting. And you could put traditional oil paint over top of a water mixable oil painting, but not the reverse. But you don't want to add water over top of oil, because that won't end well. Now the hand is just a modified little blob, is all it is. I'm going to get the dark brush and continue to tone the bottom of this. Should really invest in some masking tape. That would have been great, huh? Okay. In a second, I might just get some of those little stickers and put them on here. Probably what I'll do. Alright, so let's get to black, white. Just add a little bit of gray over here. And we'll paint right over top of the gray with thin paint. I want to cover the darks there. And you know what? We're going to be very, very loose with this. I'm going to just start to add the red. Now this is, this red that you're seeing here, that I hope you can see there, it is Pyrrole Red. It is the substitute for cadmium red. I didn't buy it because I'm afraid of cadmium. It was just cheaper. I believe they have cadmium red. COBRA Talons is the brand that I'm using. Okay, so now gray to white. This line goes all the way up here towards the edge of the face. Now it's very hard to manage proportions like this because you're dealing with color, you're dealing with the medium itself, which is the paint. So you'll see me from time to time slow down like I just did there and move something relative to something else. But I want to have a dark down first so I can place a light over it. And I'm working with, for the skin tone, just cadmium, well, I keep saying cadmium, but just orange and white. And I'm going through with the darks very loosely, shaping the head with the same brush. Yeah, just about the only problem I have is with the canvas moving around. I really didn't want to use my little stickies there, but I got them here. And someone suggested to buy them. I think it was Monique that suggested to buy them. I hate to use up the stickies, but I guess I'm gonna have to. Because the magnets are actually not strong enough to hold it. So we're gonna put some of the stickies here. Let's see if anyone has any questions. Do you like this format? You can see me, you can hear the paint. Some of you really don't care to see me, I know, but that's, you know, that's an individual thing. I just want you to be able to see the entire process. Because the way that I move around the canvas, oh, and you can see the blue dress painting back there. The way that I move around the canvas is very important. It's a very educational thing to be able to witness. And I didn't bother to stretch this on a canvas. because, like I said, it's a larger sketch. A sketch that we might refine more later. There we go. And I think the magnets will do fine for the bottom. But it was definitely falling over on the top. These are super strong magnets. Alright. That's a lot better. Oh, thanks, Legendary Noob. Yes, this was gessoed. This is, I don't remember the brand, but it's pretty generic cotton canvas. And I bought a huge roll, and this is sketching canvas for me. This is sketching canvas. These are going to be more loose, not like the ones that you see me do for extended periods of time, like weeks at a time. These are going to be more impressions. Let's see. Hey, Ed's art. I really like the painting in the background. The one with the blue dress. Oh, thank you. That's the painting I was working on just earlier today. Started it last year. I'm still adding more stuff to it. Okay, so shapes of color. We're relating the proportions to one another. Water-mixable oil paints, they are not as potent. Their tinting strength is not as strong as traditional oil paints. So that is going to be a thing that you're going to have to adjust to pretty quickly if you opt to use these. The side. And I recommend that you have your canvas at an arm's length and 90 degrees and center to eye level. Mine is a little bit lower because my roof is not tall enough. And this is too big to fit on my French easel, I think. We're going to use this to throw in some more darks on the back of the hair. And a little bit of orange into black. All the darks for the hair. And the stuff I know you really want to see, the realism on the face. Shadows are ever so important. We're starting to hone in on the shadow shapes for the face. We're just using our eyes. We're not measuring anything out too carefully. Standing back. See the painting from a distance. Now that we've got some shadow shapes there, now we're going to go back to the darks. I mean, the darks for the clothing. Hey Volker, about my canvas, about stretching or on a board. If I'm doing a sketch, I prefer to just tape it onto a board. Personal preference, really. Because if I'm going to do a sketch, I don't really want to take the time to stretch it. Like, for example, I've got a canvas over here that I stretched a while ago. I toned it. It's lead primed. I lead primed it and toned it gray. So for like a long-term painting, like that blue dress painting, I prefer to tone it and stretch it myself. Alright, now standing back, I see that perhaps that arm, that might be in a good place, it might not, but keeping the shapes loose, easy, workable, even for something as complicated as this. Did I mention, this is the most ambitious painting I think I've ever attempted to do here on YouTube. And I do want to do more ambitious stuff. I want to loosen up a little bit more. I think I've been very safe with how I've been painting. And you see how active this is. I'm standing back and forth like a sword fighter. I'm using my arm to move the paint around. I just want to cover the dark. And from a distance, it's going to read pretty well across the room as an abstract image, an abstract idea, an abstraction. Emphasis is on the abstract. And you can do this. This is something that everyone can do. It just takes time to practice the paint handling, the drawing, all that stuff. But once you have the experience, you can really just fly through things like this. But like I said, the water mixable oil paints are a lot more transparent. COBRA Talons is my favorite brand for water mixables. I really won't use any other brand other than COBRA Talons. That red got a little bit red, too red. See how I mix across the canvas? No fear. Switching brushes regularly, trying to balance it out. I see why I needed to cover that light. Need it to be dark so I can paint dark into light. Light into dark. It's easier to paint light into dark than it is the reverse. The same with drawing. Remember, painting and drawing are no different from one another. This is the same as the drawing. The only difference is the material. And it's so easy to clean the brushes with water mixable. That is one major advantage to water mixable. That's the thing I hate the most, is having to clean brushes. And sometimes I'm so bad about that, I will just put some brushes in the freezer. I've got some brushes in the freezer right now. Mixing orange. We're going to get a shape for the hand. Notice how frequently I stand back. I don't even tell myself anymore. I just do. I just know to stand back. And if you're not standing back as much as I am, then I would definitely recommend adding that to your repertoire of good habits to have while painting. Alright, so question to ask everyone now. The chat has been really quiet for a while. What is currently on your easel? At the moment, you know what's on my easel. What's on your easels, everyone? Let's open it up with a very simple question. And if nothing's on your easel, that's okay. That's a valid response. Throwing in a little bit of a mid-tone there. Some color for the shadow, mix into whatever. Add a little bit of blue. Turn this slightly gray, but a warm gray. Now we're adding some whatchamacallit, some mid-tones in the hair. A little glimpse of some stuff of light back here. And there's a nice big old pillar of some sort back there. So we're going to change brushes yet again. I'm going to mix up a brown, a little bit of everything. Thin the paint out. Either you're all really mesmerized with what I'm doing, or you're really bored with what I'm doing. You're most likely bored, so definitely write something down. Let's keep the stream alive. Let's keep the conversation going. And by the way, one thing I forgot to mention with this, there's extra space on the canvas, so if I want to stretch this in the future, I totally can. I have that option. Henry Floyd toned canvas waiting for me to paint a figure / portrait of a woman riding a motorcycle in odd lighting. Oh, awesome. Sounds cool. Legendary Noob, your first commission. Awesome. Congratulations. First commission. The beach of, don't know how to pronounce that, in Italy. You do mostly portraits, so you're practicing learning a lot about landscapes with that one. Awesome. So I'm adding in a little bit more paint on the side here just to kill off the gray, or to kill off the whites of the canvas. Now it grays out a little bit. Down here, add some blue and some green into some red. Okay, something a little lighter. There we go. Oh, you're welcome. Don't be shy, everyone. Water mixable, it's a little more, there's a little more a gooiness to it than traditional, but that gooiness actually helps with control. It's a little more tacky than traditional, so that tackiness, that kind of stickiness that this has, enables me to have a little more control over edges like that. Let's see, Volker did a little plein air wash on Sunday. Plein air is a real challenge, I bet. Having to carry all your stuff out there and then on top of that paint, that's a lot. I'm a little lazy for plein air. So you only want to put down the most necessary information to get your composition in place. This is the same whether you're drawing or painting. This is the same if I was working with lines instead of masses like this. Except this adds the challenge, the difficulty of paint handling, which I myself am trying to get better at. This is why you see me working this way. Another thing to mention about water mixable, despite what a lot of people say, they do dry more slowly in my experience than traditional. So it likes to spend a lot of time in the in-between dry phase before forming a solid layer. But you can actually work into that with water mixable. It's a little more forgiving in that sense than traditional. This is a cast shadow that we're adding here. I'm going to change the light sensitivity. There we go, so you can see that this right there is a cast shadow from her being projected onto the wall. All right, so now we've got a fair amount of the environment put into place. Soon we're going to start throwing down for the face. Soon. We're going to get there very soon. Keep your shapes simple and easy. Just that, as you already know. When the time comes to make changes, those changes are simple and easy to manage. Shadows are very, very critical in this stage. Differentiating light and shadow. And I'm thinking about this just as a series of shapes. There's no need for too many details in here. You don't need them. Hey, Nick Floyd. Yeah. Even with the fast drying medium, I've tried with the fast drying mediums. For me, they still dry pretty slow. So see how I drag? I can just drag the paint down here and it gets automatically darker. With a little less pressure. It becomes a shadow. Move my little cup so I can have more space on the palette to mix. Let's see. Legendary Noob. Apart from the live streams, do you work mostly alla prima or in multiple sessions? So I start paintings in alla prima. You're scared of, let's see, especially when it's portraiture, but I really want to get better. So that, for example, that I started last year, and I actually painted over a painting pretty much like this. I can start, and anyone can start like this and continue to work on it for months or even years. In my case now, years or a year with a particular painting. But you can start like this and turn it into a long-term painting. It's all about shape, all about shapes. If you can control your shapes, if you can keep your shapes simple and easy, you can start any method you want. But this one is a little bit more freeing in the sense that there is this element of physical. There's a physical aspect to it when you're moving paint around like this. It's not easy. It takes some time to get used to it, but when you get used to it, it's a whole heck of a lot of fun. Hey, Grant, something. I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce your name. I'm sorry. Let's see. Do you have a calling in art, or does art have a calling in you? That's a good question. That is so philosophical. That's so philosophical that I'm going to take a sip of Coke Zero. I'm not sponsored by anyone. I just don't like sugar. I don't know, man. I don't know. It reminds me of a Tupac quote. That I can't really say on camera, but I don't know really. I think that I have always loved visual imagery, as long as I can remember. And honestly, I think anyone can do this. If you have a passion, talent is nothing more than a pursued interest, as a lot of people have said. You really, if you enjoy it, you will put the time into it that maybe somebody that doesn't enjoy it as much won't. Thanks, Legendary Noob. What are the limitations of the ego for an artist when developing their art? Oh, it's a big one. Oh, it's a very big one. Ego is a huge one. Believe me, it's a huge, huge barrier. And some students, I'm glad you asked that question. Let's save that question somewhere. Where is it? Down there in the comments. That is a good question, and it's so meaningful, that question. Ego is a huge, huge barrier. It's a huge issue. If you have too much of an ego, which can also create problems. So the good thing is to have a balance, but don't take it to heart. Don't take it personally when something doesn't quite work out with your art, because believe me, it happens to all of us. It happened to Rembrandt. It happened to Sargent. It happened to a lot of the old masters. So the important thing is to overcome the ego. Don't be so critical of yourself that you can't move. But at the same time, don't be so Don't be so big-minded or something that you think that there's no more room for improvement. And everyone's always got room for improvement. All of us, no matter who you are, there's always room for improvement. Okay. So there's the necklace over here. I'm just making room for the necklace. And I say things, I identify them, but I actually just think of shapes. Just shapes of light and dark. All this is, the big secret that no one's telling you, is just shapes. Just shapes. And if you can see it as just shapes, you can see without the fear of the fact that it's a human, or if it's a landscape or something like that. A lot of the limitations involve fear. Now notice how how I mix, especially when I have a table palette like this. I'm very loose even with the mixing. Now we're going to start to do some stuff for the nose and all of the features. So I'm going to go with shapes of value, and it's going to look a little weird. It's going to go through an awkward stage, believe me. It's going to go through an awkward stage. Let's see, located below is tough questions. Yeah. Oh, thank you for watching from India. Thank you. Let's see, if an artist says I want to create great artwork, is it his ego, or is it something else, that the soul or spirit? Well, I liken art and the creation of it to expression, self-expression. You paint a self-portrait with every painting that you do, not physically, not literally, but you always bring out something of yourself in every painting that you do, every work that you do. So it's quite important to be able to have the language necessary to convey your message as effectively as possible. Because if you don't, then people tend to try to use things like overtly stylization, like overly stylizing stuff, when you don't have to. If you have the technical knowledge to be able to create an image that looks like something. What is the drive within an artist to create beautiful art space? And I think that answer is the same, really. It's what's inside of us. You paint your truth, you paint your reality. Good questions. I like this. I hope you join these live streams regularly. It's the pursuit of truth. It's the pursuit of your truth. And because I'm doing a Rembrandt study, one might think, oh, he's just trying to replicate Rembrandt. That's not the case at all. These are a series of shapes. This live stream itself is an art form for me to be able to convey to you, wherever you are in the world, that this is within your grasp, that this is doable. This is not an edited video. Which is why I'm not a very popular person. It's because I don't edit videos and I don't create, super overly trendy stuff. Because I'm just not that kind of person. I just like to present the truth, and I want people to be able to learn from what I do. Good questions. Good questions. All right, so now I got a question for everyone. This is usually the second question I tend to ask everyone, and that is, where in the world are you? I am in Maryland, Maryland, DC, Virginia area, which, by the way, if you want to take classes with me in person, that is now a possibility. These days I'm starting to hone in more and more with the nose relative to the outside shape of the face. The nose, the eyes come next. The nose gives me the tilt of the head, the turn of the head. And these shapes, though they're monstrous, this looks like a large monstrosity right now because it's an unfinished face, is simple and easy to work with. Keep your shapes simple and easy to work with so that when the time comes to make changes, I already said that one before, you know the rest of that. Do I ever have a fear of not being famous enough? No, I don't think. I'm not really interested in fame. I'm not really interested in being like, super highly regarded. I'm more interested in what I leave behind for others. My philosophy, and I mentioned this about what my definition of happiness is on the last stream, is that for me, happiness is to live your life happily, to find something that you do that you really just enjoy more than anything in the world. The meaning of life is, that's what I meant. The meaning of life to me is live your life happily and leave something behind when you're done to help others find their happiness. My greatest fear with art is not having enough time. I'm not worried about fame, I'm worried about dying young and not producing the work that I want to produce. My biggest fear is dying before I create the work that I want to create. Let's see. Happiness is to live life happily where you find something you enjoy. Oh, that's what I said. The meaning of life is living happily and leaving something behind for others to find their happiness. Yep, that's my meaning of life. And honestly, I could butcher this, right? I can totally screw this up. And in the past, I would probably hate myself if I did a live stream and the painting turned out to be a complete monstrosity. But now I'm not worried about that as much anymore. I'm worried about I'm focused. I shouldn't say worried. I'm focused on presenting painting in the best possible way, the truest possible way. Oh, thank you. Don't die with your music still in you, exactly. Legendary Noob watching from the Netherlands. Awesome. A slight tilt to the head, so the eyes have to communicate with that tilt. Switching brushes. And a nice thing about water mixable is you can use a crap ton of brushes and without worry because it's so easy to clean them. You can clean them in minutes. Let's see. Do I ever have a fear of painting, similar to how writers get the writer's block? Like you have, let's see, fear, so they'll distract you from painting. Yeah, we all have artist block, right? I went through some artist block myself not too long ago, really. And what helped me get out of it, I don't think I'm afraid of painting. It's just that I don't know what to paint. I don't know what I want to paint. And that's the hardest thing is knowing what to paint. And in order to know what you want to paint, you have to let go of that pressure of like there's a certain pressure that we have as painters that we want to impress ourselves and impress others. But you have to let that go and focus on yourself. Focus on what you truly want in your paintings, and believe me, that is very hard to do. What helped me was to take up a hobby. I do paint full time, so I have my schedule is oftentimes very crazy, but I have a hobby which is pocket billiards, and the more I learn about pocket billiards, the more I learn about something other than painting, the more it actually helps me with painting. There's a neuroplasticity to it. Angela, this is approximately 20 by 30 inches. Hey Monique, hey Susan. I will definitely keep the live streams up. I mean, I can't promise that I can do them a lot, but I'll do my best to do at least like, you know, 1 or 2 a week. But this will be available as a pre-recorded video. You'll be able to watch it. And the beginning was so energetic. I mean, the beginning of this painting was absolutely throwing down. It was laying down paint and just feeling through the paint, feeling the proportions, feeling out where things were to fit. No careful measurement was used. Some measurement, sure, but not a lot. And now we're just getting down to the refinement of the face. And we're going to get to the refinement of pretty much everything as much as we can. And this started at 3, I think, so we're about to reach an hour. So I'll still paint a little longer. And we'll see how far this goes, and maybe I'll continue it next time. Maybe I'll do another one like this. I like these. These are like sketches on a large scale. These are impressions. These are like not impressionist paintings, because impressionism has to do with color. A lot of people think that impressionism is to do with how loose something is. That's just not the case. Painters have been painting loose since Rembrandt's time. It has nothing to do with looseness. Impressionism is about color and conveying the effect of light condition through color. And what I'm focused on is what will read from a distance. What in here is going to read from a distance? And if you can figure out what to place in a short amount of time with limited shapes, and it reads from a distance, that is powerful. That is power. But it takes time to get to that. When I started this, I didn't really know how far I would get in an hour. But this is a lot to ask for an hour's time. Under usual circumstances, I don't think I would work this quickly. But I'm trying to let go a little more. And I'm trying to seek out the most simple elements that will make this read. Now, a big one is getting the structure of the face close enough. And this is all with COBRA Talons water mixable oil paints. Not sponsored by them. Oh, by the way, this is distorted. The camera is at an angle with respect to the painting. The camera is at an angle so that you can see my palette, even though I guess it's glaring. You can see how I'm mixing through a mirror. That's actually a mirror over there. Well, thanks, Monique. Does anyone like to be able to hear the mixing, or not the mixing, sorry, the sound of the brush when it was contacting the painting? I really tried to get it so you can hear the mixing, or not the mixing, but you know what I mean, like adding the paint onto the canvas painting. Standing back, make a mark and stand back. This is a brownish dark. Make your decisions further back. Make a decision back here, apply it an arm's length away. You want to improve your art now? Do that. Make your decisions back here and apply them close up. It's very comfortable to be close, but it's uncomfortable to be far away. It's uncomfortable to be far away because you're forced to see what you've done on your canvas. Hey Helmut, let's see. Thanks for watching from Germany. Let's see, question. Don't worry, feel free to ask any art questions. He asked, how can I learn to set up, learn setup by setup oil painting as a beginner. I struggle because there are so many tutorials, but no step-by-step training. So the fundamentals are universal in both drawing and painting, and whichever the subject matter is or material, the fundamentals are universal. So the fundamentals are important. What you want to learn how to do first is to work with basic shape, and my philosophy is the shapes alone will give you an image. It will give you the impression of an image faster than just using empty lines will. What I would suggest for you for a step-by-step, other than my online classes, because my online classes do start out very, very simple for complete beginners. Other than that, what I would recommend that you do is to do a combination of recreating master studies, master paintings like the Rembrandt that we're seeing there. Though they look difficult, that is the best thing you can do, is to recreate these and do self-portraits. Recreate those and do self-portraits. Don't think that it's ahead of you. Everyone out there, don't think that this is beyond you. Don't think that you can't do this just because it looks complicated. You can do this and you will learn a lot from it. But the challenge, really the challenge, is that ego thing that we were talking about that was brought up before. There's a huge challenge in overcoming our own perception of ourselves. Hey, Stephanie. Oh, good. You like the sound. It makes you feel like you're in the studio with me. Oh, awesome. I took that idea from Bob Ross. To be able to have you hear the painting. Pretty much straight black, thinned out. And now I'm refining the edge around the head. Hey Monique. Oh good, I'm glad you like it. Let's see, Legendary Noob has written to us, as a beginner myself, learning the fundamentals is the best way to start. Learn about values, drawing edges, and color theory. When I understood what values were, it unlocked so much for me. Awesome. Values do so much. It is so important to be able to work with and understand shapes of values. To everyone out there, everyone in the world out there, you can start today, you can start right now with Rembrandt studies, with Diego Velázquez studies. Let me tell you, the old masters understood the fundamentals so well that if you put the time into these studies, you will yourself master the fundamentals without even thinking about it, because they are already automatically implied in these studies. This is an enormously useful activity to do. You don't have to sit there and draw like circles and cubes and rectangles and things like that. Think about it. When you go to an atelier, if you go to an atelier, which is a classical art school, the most classical art school setting possible, what you're going to do typically is you're going to do barg copies, meaning you're going to draw outlines and you're going to recreate images just like this, except not with color. Now we're putting in some mid-tones for the refinement, a little more refinement on the face. And we'll probably stream a little longer than usual with this. I'm trying to really see how far I can get. And push yourself. Push yourself. A little bit of pressure is good. I'm pushing myself every day. This you're witnessing live is me pushing myself to a new limit, to a new level of painting demonstration and painting in general. Because believe me, like even last month, I don't think that I'd be able to do this or get this far. I was starting really safe, just drawing out the outlines and then coming back in the next day, the next stream. This time I decided, no, let me see how far I can get with this. The way it is, laying the shapes down the way they are. How far can I get? What can I do? How can I learn? If you don't do something different than what you've been doing, you're not going to progress. And sometimes progression is a painful thing. Sometimes it gets worse before it gets better. Like I said, I'm learning pocket billiards. That's my hobby, and I've learned some techniques that I have a teacher I go to every 2 weeks, I'm very fortunate. He's such a great guy. His name is Spike. His nickname is Spike. And we're doing a trade. I'm doing a commissioned painting of his dogs, which is why I have like zero time for other commissions. So doing a commission of his dogs, and in exchange, he's giving me pool lessons, pocket billiard pool lessons. So, you know, I trust my teacher. He tells me things, and it makes me worse at first. And then once I start to adapt what I've learned, all of a sudden I start to get better. And it's because I trust him. I trust my teacher. I trust the methods. The same with painting. If you don't do something different today, you're going to be doomed to make the same mistakes you did yesterday. So it's very important to get past that fear that you had yesterday of something that you didn't do and do it. And I mean that in the most constructive methods. I mean, I don't mean for you to resort to violence or something like that, no. But anything that's art related or anything that involves learning something like this, there's no way I could have gotten this far in any painting in this amount of time, even a year ago. So I've progressed. You've seen me progress. And a lot of that was letting go. You just gotta let go. And I want you to be able to see how I maneuver, how I move. You saw in the beginning it was much more active. Now it's much more passive as I've slowed down. But I'm still constantly trying to make sure that my shapes are as accurate as they can be. And when you make decisions from a distance, you start to see better. Nelson Shanks would say that painting is the art of seeing, and a lot of people have said that. But what do they mean when they say painting is the art of seeing? And seeing in sequence, seeing the big things before getting hung up on the small things is vital to your learning. Handle the paint so fluid, so effortlessly, that instead of worrying about what the paint's going to do, you're focused on what your next shape is going to be, what your next target value is going to be. What will read from a distance? How can I say the most I possibly can with the least amount of words? And in painting, how can you say the most with the least amount of shapes? It's not about adding a ton of things now, it's about refining the things that are on there. Oh, thanks, Legendary Noob. And trust me, I get scared. I get a little nervous before I press the go live button on YouTube. I get a little nervous. I'm afraid that I'm gonna just butcher something and upload a total piece of junk. It scares me. But I take a deep breath. I trust myself. And I'm honest with myself. And I'm honest with you. And I know that that will carry through to you. I know that after you watch this, that it'll help you in some way. That's what I want to do. Make your decisions from across the room. Remember, standing back. I know you can't hear me as well when I'm back here. Make your decisions from a distance. And now you can see the colors a little better. Make your decisions from a distance. This needs a little more light. And this gets really bright now, but not straight titanium white. But it's close to it. Notice something missing on my palette that you usually see. That's lead white. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You don't need to use lead white. It is a definite, it's definitely a nice thing to have. But you don't need to use it, especially if you live somewhere where you can't access it. Oh, thanks, Stephanie. Okay, so a little more refinement, and I'm slowing down more now in order to add the refinement. Okay, good, good, good. So I stood back, did a quick check of my shapes. The nose can be lowered a little bit. I said good because I caught something that was not correct. And believe me, there's a lot of mistakes. There's going to be a lot of mistakes. But the important thing is to know how to identify them and how to make corrections. Keep your shapes simple and easy, so that when the time comes like this to make changes, they're simple and easy to manage. So what I'm doing is I'm projecting. Every time I make a correction, I project. So I'm projecting the bottom of the nose down a little bit lower. I'm looking at this negative space here. And fear, I'll tell you another fear. If you want to know the honest truth, I'm a little afraid because my YouTube channel is slightly dying. I'm getting a little less viewers, a little less every year, and I'm a little afraid of it dying. And by dying, I mean it getting so small to a point where it's not enough for me to survive. Got some hair on my brush. That's one of my biggest fears. I'm afraid of that. I'm afraid that I'm so boring that I'm not getting enough viewers interested in my videos. And it shows. It's a painful truth. It shows. Every year I get a little less, little less. That's one of my fears. But I trust. I have this idea in my head. I have this idea in my head that if you are honest with yourself, if you're truthful with yourself, and you help people, you do something positive for the world. If you do something positive for the world and you're honest with yourself, things will work out. Somehow, they will work out. But it takes work. It takes effort. I'm not just going to sit around and hope for things to get better. I'm going to do something. And sometimes it won't work. Sometimes it's the wrong move, and then I learn. And what makes something right or something wrong is how it affects my painting. The more I improve my painting, the more I'll be able to share with you. The more I'll be able to contribute. So I put that pressure on myself. And it's a good pressure. You know, and one day I want to be able to do this, you know, even in front of a live audience. I'm doing demos for my students in person every Sunday, uh, right there in front of them, so they can paint along with me. And I enjoyed that. I enjoy being able to do that. I absolutely do enjoy that. I will be doing a demonstration in person for some kind of audience. I don't know how many, but during the instructor show at the school that I'm teaching at. I don't really know if they're going to give me enough space to do it, to be honest. I don't think I'm the, you know, I don't think I'm a big priority to them, but they're going to have teachers do demonstrations, teachers that want to. And I enjoy that. Thanks, Angela. Some more refinement to the face. And I'm keeping you from a distance back there because this has to read well from a distance. That's the important thing. So as I stand back, I see. Remember, stand back. Always. I see that the shoulders to square. So you're seeing in sequence. And now that I've been talking about fears a lot, maybe that's a question I should ask everyone. If you want to share with us, what is your greatest fear with art? With your art, what is your greatest fear? Not an easy question to answer. Feel free not to answer it if you don't want to. But I'm curious now about others. What is your greatest fear with your art? I hear crickets. If you don't want to share what your greatest fear is with your art, that's okay. I don't blame you. So, Stephanie, your greatest fear is starting a new project. I get that. Stephanie, your greatest fear is starting a new project. That's totally understandable. Angela, imposter syndrome. Uh-oh. Artist block. Oh, okay. That's your greatest fear. That's a real thing that we all go through. We all go through, myself included. And sometimes having a little bit of perspective away from art helps you when you come back to it. You know, I'll tell you another fear of mine. Now that we're sharing our greatest fears with art, one of my greatest fears is to stop improving. I'm terrified of that. I never want to stop improving. That scares the crap out of me. The legendary noob. Oh, thank you for saying I'm definitely not boring. You've learned so much from my videos. YouTube just has a weird algorithm. Those gimmicky art channels that offer nothing have more views, and you think it's ridiculous. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wish I could tell you, but I just don't know. I really don't watch a lot of art, except for like art history stuff. Like occasionally I'll rewatch the Impressionists on YouTube and the Caravaggio, like the Power of Art documentary series. Now it's actually starting to look like clothing. I have surpassed what I thought I would be able to do, and I did that by doing something different this time. Something different. I didn't start on the little 8x10. Um, I didn't keep myself that close. I used big brushes. I used a lot of paint, and I really didn't think I would get this far. And I don't want to stop. I just want to keep painting. But eventually, my wife is going to come back home from work, and we're going to have dinner. I gotta be a good husband too. Let's see. Hey Terry. Hey legendary noob. Let's see. He's written to us. My fear is that I will always be a bookkeeper and miserable going to work and not becoming an oil painter and making enough money to do it full time. That's a really, really true fear for everyone, myself included. That's why I'm terrified of my YouTube channel dying. My YouTube channel dies, I'm done. I'm done. I'm gone. And I don't want that to happen. But I tell you what, like I said, if you, my philosophy, one of my philosophies is, if you, if you're doing what you love and you're doing it in a way that will benefit others, good things will just happen. They just have to. They just happen to happen. And I got lucky. I mean, one of the instructors at this school, his name is Leo Ramos. Check him out on Instagram. He asked me to do a demo for his class out of the blue one day, and I thought, why not? I should do this. And the director, his name is Walt Bartman, was, I don't know if he's the director, but like one of the top administrative people there was, I don't know what this is. You are, let's see, you are hidden on this channel. Anyway, so he happened to be there, like in the building, and he told me that I would be a good teacher there. So, and just out of the blue, that happened. And it happened at a time, really, that happened at a time where I was, and still am, like, kind of struggling. And that was really fortunate. And that follows the principle that I was saying. Standing back. Alright, now we can throw on some of the highlights. And we're on here now, 1 hour, 30 minutes. Hey, Nick. Oh, thanks, Jonas. It was a bit of a risk to paint like this, but I really wanted to. I want to get better at this. Like, I want to actually learn how to do this. I think I got a little lucky with this painting. But it's a luck if you can only do it once. You really learn it if you can continue doing it. If you can do it consistently, it's not luck. Raining words. Let's see. Your greatest fear is you can't start. Let's see. I just keep collecting art stuff, but feel overwhelmed by it all. I would like to thank you for your encouraging, wise words. Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. Your fear is that you can't start. You can start right now. You can start this evening. Or morning, or whatever time it is over there. Don't be afraid to start something new. It's just paint, it's not going to harm you. But you're also not alone. I have that fear too, all the time. Am I going to start a painting that's going to be better than all my other paintings? I'm always afraid that I'm, like I said, I'm always afraid to not improve. And how do I define improvement? That's a big question. How do I define what is good for me? And for me, it is to paint in such a way that the thing looks like the thing, but it's not like a photograph. I never want to get to a point where all anyone says is it looks just like a photograph. I want the paintings to speak for themselves. I want them to not only be powerful in terms of crafting skill, craftsmanship, but also be powerful in what the shapes can convey. Now some refinement for the hand. Step right up, get your refinement, step right up. Now we're going to refine the hand a little bit. There's a cast shadow on the hand there. Nothing's legendary noob. Hi Stephanie, you're wondering how my model Steven was doing and if you were going to do more large studio paintings of him. Oh, I'm glad that you liked the Traveler painting. That was so many years ago. I'm glad you remember that painting. I tried to book him for a class that I offered to teach. I offered to teach a portrait painting class in person on Thursday nights, but it didn't get enough students, and he was busy on Thursday nights anyway. But I do want to do another painting of him. And yeah, preferably like a large painting. I like to work larger. I'm actually more comfortable working this big than I am working small. See some shapes for the knuckles. Back side of the palm. All it takes is a few shapes in the right spot. Let's see, do I like working with water, oils instead of standard? I like them for these purposes, because they're cheaper and I can thin them out with water, it's easier for me. But you know, if I had more ventilation in the studio, I'd probably use traditional. But even then, I'm not comfortable with a bunch of mineral spirits everywhere. I like to work more slow, and this is absolutely much faster paced than I usually paint. I've actually never painted this fast before, I think, in my entire life. So this is something new. So that's like a two-part answer to your question. I'll always use traditional oil paints for long-term paintings. Some refinement on the clothing. This hand, I like the way it ended up, so I won't mess with it. Some more refinement here. The face, honestly, I think I got lucky with the face. I just threw down some shapes and it ended up looking like it did. From Angela, what red and white paints do you have on your palette? I have, well, it's only titanium white that I have there. I have Pyrrole Red, Madder Lake, which is supposed to be like alizarin. Pyrrole Red is supposed to be like cadmium red, but it's more transparent than regular cadmium red. That's it. Those are the only reds and white that I have on here. And I'm mixing on a piece of marble, something that I have not done before. It's quite heavy. If it falls, it'll make a huge thud. And it's actually resting on a statue of a lion. Little refinement. Being careful that these folds don't fall all in the same place. This is like an encore painting. And do me a favor if you can. If you like this stream, definitely share it on some kind of social media if you can. I don't ask this question. I don't ask this very much, but you can do something to share these videos in some way. I don't know, on Pinterest or on Facebook or one of those things. That would really help me out. Especially this one. Let's get this stream seen out there. Let's get this out there. Now the Rembrandt itself looks very dark. I don't think that he made it that dark when he painted it, so I'm pushing the lights a little bit. But I'm also browning them out to try to resemble genuine vermilion, which is what he used. And I didn't measure a darn thing, just threw out some shapes. Hey, legendary noob, you don't like hyper-realism like a printer. It lacks artist emotion. That's true, I believe that. Oh, thanks, Jonas. Hey, Stephanie, you often go back and watch my older painting videos that each focus on steps like layouts. So those are the pre-recorded. But yeah, I did. I completely changed. I mean, it's been an evolution since the beginning. When I started back in 2017, I think. Been an evolution, and I've been growing and growing towards something like this. I want to take painting beyond the usual tutorial format. which is probably what's been difficult for me, I guess. But I do enjoy doing this. Being able to do this is so much fun. I've never been able to, in the past, like overcome that fear of a camera, but now I feel very comfortable with the camera. I feel comfortable with you. I've even added the camera where you can see me. You can see how I stand back and think. Make my decisions from a distance. Oh, thanks, Legendary Noob. So now I have pushed the light. I'm pushing the light a little bit more. I'm pushing the chiaroscuro. Let's get rid of some of the white of the canvas on the side. I think that's distracting. Let's cover this thing. And you don't have to spend a lot on a drawing board, by the way. This is set up on top of some random piece of metal that I found in the trash. It was just like on the side of it was just a piece of trash. There's a thing of metal. One person's trash is another person's treasure. So, and that was it. My easel also came from a dumpster. Someone threw it out because the back support, the thing to lean it, was broken, and it works just fine. So you don't have to spend a crap ton. But what matters though is your paints and your brushes. Your paints, your brushes, and what you paint on. But you can save a lot of money just painting on wood. So this is something else. I really can't believe that I did this quickly. I want to be able to do this consistently. If I can do this consistently, I think that I will get better. Because the refinement of it, the making it look very realistic part of this is, that's just time and rendering. But to have an impact on a canvas in this amount of time, this is really something I've always wanted to do. So now now that I've darkened all this out, I'm going to go with light and add more light on the table plane where she's leaning. See how important the chiaroscuro is. Hey, Legendary Noob, I'm glad you like this setup. You see how active everything is. How the paint just flows. The thicker you paint, the more it flows. It's so true. It's a Sargent quote. Alright, so now let's ask another question for everyone now that we're approaching 2 hours. I think we'll end it at 2 hours. 2 hours special today, which is still remarkable to do this in 2 hours. I'm sure I'm going to look at it later and be really concerned with it, but let's see. Last question for everyone is going to be, what motivates you the most to paint? What is your greatest motivation? And my answer to that is, for me, the greatest motivation is the old masters. And what is this? Another. Alright, so not only are you getting removed, you're going to get reported. I'm not lenient with this. You're being reported to YouTube. So be warned, any trolls that try to come onto the streams. I don't, I appreciate moderators, but I will definitely I'm not shy anymore to take people out or take trolls out from the streams. I will take the troll out. I will do this. Does anyone get this reference? This is a magic wand. This is a magic wand. That's the troll. Avada Kedavra. Boom. That's what happens. Anyone get that reference? Hey Terry, yeah, this one was today. This is all today. Now we'll start to etch in the platform. And maybe just a little line or two in the right spot will give me some sort of surface plane. Hey Serrado. Oh good, I'm glad the old masters inspire you too. Thanks, Flexible. Alright, so now it's down to the last little refinements while we get some answers for. Remember, the question for everyone, feel free to comment. And definitely help me out. Leave a comment, anything, even if you want to say hello. If all you want to say is hello, just leave a hello, leave some kind of comment. Because the more comments that I get here, I mean good comments, not trolls, the more good comments I get here, just any comment, the more it will help me with YouTube. Art is cathartic for you. That's a good SAT word for me. What does that even mean? Cathartic? Define cathartic.
Providing psychological relief through the open expression of strong emotions, causing catharsis. Do you want to hear the next one?
No, that's good. So, psychological relief through the open expression of strong emotions. Providing psychological relief through the open expression of strong emotions. Very good definition there. Oh, thank you so much for the super chat, Stephanie Thompson. Thank you so much for that super chat. That helps me out so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Hey, legendary noob. Oh, okay, yeah, you got it. Snape. There you go. It's from Harry Potter. So, Serrado, sometimes you're not inspired to paint or draw, but you do it anyways. Well, that's also part of it. That's having the discipline to do it. Yeah, I understand that too. Totally. Thank you so much for the super chat, Stephanie Thompson. Now you see the power of alla prima. And remember, it can still be continued. You know, I can still continue to work on this and to refine it, but I want to get to a point really where I can do something that is, you know, good and strong with less information. You know, I was so focused in the past with the refinement. Now I'm focused on, you know, stepping it back a little bit, the refinement in a simplistic sense. You know, how can I get all of these shapes to work together? Inflexible, is it better to take a break when feeling burnt out or just push through it? Honestly, that really depends on the situation. I wouldn't take a long break, but maybe like, I don't know, like a week or so. Which I can't go a week without painting. I just can't. But sometimes maybe take a day or two. Like what I do is I have a hobby now, so I go to the pool halls. I play pool. I have a small pool table in my home too, just a little cheap wooden one. And after this, I'll probably go, practice some 8 ball or something, or maybe some straight pool. And it's good to have a balance. When we get burnt out, it's because we don't have a balance. It's important to have a balance. Hey Nick Floyd, your previous comment was about your greatest fear. You just realized you didn't say it. Let me see. I might have missed it. I'm sorry if I missed it. Hey Janice. Oh good, I'm glad that you learn from every session here. Oh thanks, Kathy Mack for subscribing. Oh, your first time. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad to hear that. Let's see, Serato. If you think of art as a job, oh, well, you have to work every day. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty fortunate. I don't really think of it as a job that much. I just kind of live it, I guess. Live through it. It's a very pleasant existence, being a painter. It's a very, there's a lot of struggles, financial and all that, but I really do enjoy it. I feel very fortunate to have had the teachers that I've had in art. Oh, you're welcome, Vexable. I'm glad that that helped. All right, so you know what? I think we're almost there. Yeah, we got about 6 minutes till 2 hours. We're almost there. I'm going to stand back. Now, from way back here, especially if I blur my eyes, there is a painting in front of me. Like it has all of the elements of a painting like this, where I spent a year on it, right? That painting, I know you can't see the specifics of it because I'm not done with it, but that's a year's worth of painting. But from a distance, what matters is the shapes, the values, the colors. What matters is what this thing looks like from a distance. From way back here, I'm very far back. I'm like probably maybe like 6 feet back. As long as it reads well from this distance, I'm happy. Now, of course, there's going to be things that are not, things that are off. But it's okay. It is a study. It's a new type of study, really. I've never done something like this before. At this pace, this speed. And I will post it on Instagram. So if you want to see the photograph of it, I'll post it on Instagram for you. Take a look here. I need my fan brush. That's just to knock back some of the glare. Hey, Legendary Noob. Let's see, you're 35. Before you started painting at 34. Had no passion for anything that I've been doing. After I started painting, I just knew that I wanted to do this for the rest of your life. Awesome, awesome. Clap, clap, clap with my brushes. That is such a great thing to hear. Such a great thing to hear. I'm very happy that you found painting. For me, that's what I feel about pocket billiards. You know, it's something that I just recently discovered in my 30s. I'm 31 right now at the time of this video, and you know, I didn't start doing it like all the other players do when they're like 12, but I really enjoy it and I want to do it for potentially the rest of my life. Painting, I was lucky, to be honest, really lucky. I had very good teachers when I was young. I always had a passion for it in school, and I would get in trouble for drawing portraits of the teachers, especially during like history class when I should have been paying more attention. I was very fortunate with that. But honestly, this is very teachable stuff. This is very learnable stuff. It depends. If you have the passion to learn it, you can learn it. Yeah, of course. It's never too late. I had a student that was going to class in person with me years ago. That was 90. He started painting at 90, and he learned like so fast. He learned so fast. Never too late. Oh, thanks, Serrato. Thank you. Let's see. From Janice, you missed the beginning. This is painted on cotton canvas, just a sheet of cotton canvas. And it's 20 inches by 30 inches approximately. Let's see. Question from WTV. What's the best way to thin water mixable oil paints, whatever you use, so watercolors lose vibrancy, turn a little muddy? Well, that also depends on what brand you're using. I'm using COBRA Talons. I really like COBRA Talons water mixable. I've tried other brands, and I think COBRA Talons is my favorite. Just water, and you can build a water mixable oil painting with just water. It is a very solid paint. Very solid medium, that is. Alright, so it looks like I think my wife is here now. Okay, so I just missed a phone call. That means it is time. Thank you all so much for joining. This is going to be the point where I'm going to turn the canvas. First thing I'll do is take this mirror off so it doesn't bother you. Alright, so I'm going to pick up the camera and I'm going to move it so you can see this with the least amount of distortion. And I'm going to take the reference out of there because it's not supposed to be a one-on-one. It's not supposed to be a one-to-one comparison. It was literally just there for reference. So we have accomplished to do this. We have accomplished this in about 2 hours and 1 minute. And cotton does glare a lot, so that's why I had you at an angle. Also, you see, I wouldn't even be able to paint because the camera would be in the way. Take care, Terry. All right. Yeah, WTV. I do definitely recommend switching to COBRA. Thanks, Monique. Adjust the light a little bit. There you go. That's more like what it looks like. And of course it's impossible. It's virtually impossible to get me away from the painting. I see something and I'm like, I gotta fix it right away. That was too dark. But this was quite difficult, but very, very fun to do. Hey Janice, will it be for sale? I mean, it's possible, but it's not stretched. It is on a piece of metal. So if I zoom you back here, it's not stretched. So I'd have to stretch it, or I could sell it like rolled into a tube. That could work too. But I'm gonna be working. I keep saying this every year, but I'm gonna work on a website. I'm gonna start a website where I can sell my paintings directly from a website. But that's still gonna take some time. Thanks, Serrato. Thanks, Angela. Thank you, Kathy. Thanks, Libertas. Alright, so it looks like we don't have any last minute questions. So remember, if you want to take your online classes or your online learning experience with me further, please check out my online classes that start out at just $10 a month on patreon.com/upariartist. That is where you can find my online classes. $10 a month gets you access to all of the pre-recorded videos and most importantly, the virtual classroom, which is a video that I create to give students feedback on their ongoing artworks and projects, and I do that on a weekly basis. You're able to send me up to 2 images each week for the online classes. Once again, thank you all so much. I'm gonna head out now. I'll zoom in a little bit more so you can see the last little glimpse of this study. A lot to do in 2 hours, but I really enjoy pushing myself to do things like this. So I wish you all the very best in all of your artwork, and I will see you on the next one.